Okay, so again, thank you all so much for coming in. I know it's been a busy day, I'm sure, as with every day. And so today we are going to be looking at extending thinking virtually. When we consider that, obviously, you all have been doing this very much so already throughout the year. We do have a vast audience with us today. So we have teachers at all different grade levels. We have teachers, at secondary at different content as well. And so I will do my best to go through this information, hopefully providing you some ideas. I may at times just kind of turn it over to you as audience members, just seeking out some additional input and ideas as to how you think you could adapt some of these instructional strategies into your classroom. So just remember to mute your mic as you need, unmute if you need to ask any questions. Try and have your camera turned on just so that I can see where you're at, and that way I can kind of read the audience too. It helps me a lot as we go. Lastly, once again there, the remote check-in code is January, and you'll find that on our professional learning page as you go. Okay. Today's learning, of course, I am your presenter. So for those of you who do not know me, my name is Holly Maldonado, and I'm the science strategist for the district. There's my contact information. If you need, you can reach out to me anytime you need assistance with this information or anything else. So you've got my email. You also have my phone number there as well, in addition to my Twitter handle, so you can find me there as well. Today, what is it all about? We're going to be talking about Lead Forward. Additionally, we will be talking about Jamboard, and then ultimately what we're going to be doing is bringing those two ideas together. So we will be practicing using some of the Lead Forward instructional strategies together with Jamboard. By a show of hands, how many of you, first question here, have used Lead Forward instructional strategies in the past? Just by a show of hands. Okay, so I see a few of you with your hands up there. All right. What about how many of you have used Jamboard? Again, by a show of hands, how many of you have used Jamboard? Okay, great. Well, then hopefully I hope to share with you some new ideas today for those of you who have not in the past used Jamboard or Lead Forward strategies. Today, throughout the course of these short 30 to 40 minutes, what we will be doing is going through 5 different Lead Forward instructional strategies. You can see them listed here. We will be doing the mystery sequence resequence, followed by connect the dots, the compare and contrast model, 7 little words, and actually finishing up with our mind bender. Additionally, what I will try to do as we progress through those strategies is try and also tie in the gradual release of responsibility. I know many of you are already doing that in your classroom, and so I hope to continue showing you how you can take these strategies and just fit it in nicely with what you're already communicating across to your students. And so just a reminder there, when you are on the gradual release of responsibilities, you'll start off, of course, very much so with the teacher-led of the I do or the I think. So it's mostly the teacher talking, the students listening. Then you'll be followed with the we do, where the teacher now starting to release just a little bit of that thought process to the students. So teacher's still explaining, but the students are taking a more proactive approach to the participation. Then we have the you do together. So I will be having you work in groups through some of these different strategies and Jamboard information. It's where then I, in turn, will be more observing, and you will be collaborating together, as I mentioned. And lastly, at the end, I will turn it over to the independent work, where, if anything, I'll provide clarification if you're not sure as to the directions or what you need to do. But more so than not, it will be you yourselves working through this information independently. So let us go ahead and let the fun begin. Just a reminder, if you are trying to access any of these links that I begin sharing in the chat and it tells you you do not have access, likely it's because you're signed in with possibly 2 different accounts on your laptop. So if you encounter that, just sign out of all accounts and then sign in only using your LFC ISD account, and then you should have access to all of the information that I am sharing with each of you, okay? All right, so let's go ahead here with our first strategy, which is the mystery sequence and resequence. I'm gonna go ahead and now share that one with you all. Everyone is seeing the Jamboard, the mystery sequence, resequence? Okay, so anytime you're not seeing what I'm talking, just let me know. So here you can see that first strategy, and basically it's providing you the directions here with regards to this particular strategy. This one, basically I look at it as it's kind of the pre-assessment. You're kind of seeing what it is that your students know prior to you actually going through your instruction. And so here at the top, what you can see that the students will be doing is they will be collaborating to sequence cards in the order, okay? This will be something that you provide these cards to them, or you could simply, you know, for older students, pose to them, you know, do you know the 5 steps to the sedimentary rock process, for example, and seeing if they could list those out for you. And so, as I said, it's kind of a pre-assessment. So what you can then do is gauge where your students are at. That will help you know how deep you need to go into your information. Are they coming in with some of those prerequisite skills? And if not, then you'll be able to adapt your instruction to better meet their needs. After the instruction, then as you can see here, they would essentially have the same cards to be sequencing once again in the proper order. Yet, of course, this time you're hoping that they have made gains with regards to their learning. And so just to keep in mind as well with this particular strategy, definitely out in the front there, when they're doing this before instruction here at the top, you want to make that a very safe environment where they feel that it's okay to make mistakes, or it's okay to not know all of the information walking into the learning that you are getting ready to teach. So let me show you a couple of ways that this actually transfers over to different content areas. And so here on this particular slide, what you can see is we have 4 different pictures. Okay, so it doesn't necessarily have to be words, it could be pictures. And obviously I know I see a couple of pre-K teachers in here. This is likely what you would want to use only because your students at their age, you know, they're very limited with regards to their ability to read and type words. So here, what I would ask of my students is, okay, boys and girls, can you go ahead and put these 4 stages of the life cycle in order? And so you can see here what the students would do is they would be able to move the information around, and then you would be able to assess and see, okay, you know, are they on the right track? Are they not on the right track? And then what information do you need to then be sure and get across to your students? What misconceptions do they have? And then obviously, again, as I've already mentioned, at the end of instruction, then you would be able to check to see, okay, this is where the learning started and where is the learning now. One more example that you have here, this is a social studies example. So same thing, these are 5 major events in history. And so you're wanting to see, are your students able to sequence these in the appropriate manner? You know, if your students are starting with the Declaration of Independence previous to all of these other events that have occurred in history, then you realize that they don't have, you know, kind of the cause and effect relationships, or, you know, the buildup to ultimately getting our Declaration of Independence written. And so once again, helping you to then better decide upon how to sequence your lesson and what information you need to get through with them. And so then same thing here at the bottom, you can see different colors. That way you can very clearly see the difference between where we start and where we finish. Okay, so that is mystery sequence, resequence. Let me just open it up. Could one of you provide an idea as to how you could see using that particular strategy in your classroom with any content area that you teach? Or you can go ahead and put your ideas in the chat as well if you don't feel comfortable talking out to the group. Just one idea.
I would say timeline.
Okay.
Perfect for that. Like social studies, or even a reading passage, the beginning, middle, and end.
Very
in
good.
math, they could sort the numbers like maybe least to greatest, or putting the numbers in order.
Awesome. Yes. And I mean, I even think there, I mean, as you get into the upper grades with just rather than having isolated numbers, let's say you've got actual equations, you know, of 5 plus 3 or 7 times 2, like them having a little bit more to the process of, okay, first I have to solve that mathematical equation to know what that number is. And now I've got to, like you were saying there, do at least to greatest or greatest to least. Absolutely. You mentioned there the beginning, middle, and end for reading. That was 2 mentioned this morning. And those of us that have been teaching for quite some time, we know that summarization is a struggle and a challenge for our students. And so, you know, the more practice we can provide to them and a little bit more of the interactive nature to that, then the more that we'll be able to assist them with understanding that particular skill. Very good. Thank you all so much for those ideas. All right, we're going to go ahead and move on to the next strategy. This one is connect the dots. So here you're going to participate just a little bit more than you all did on the last one. Let me go ahead and start sharing my screen. As well, I am actually going to go ahead and put this link into the chat. So once this link is in our chat, let me stop sharing for a second here. Go ahead and just click on the link there. There you go, it's in the chat. Okay. And again, if it's telling you you do not have access, that's just a matter of you're not signed in with your district credentials. So just double check that. And so you can see here, I see all of you coming in. And so that's a nice feature here on Jamboard with your students, is you can see exactly who is and is not already in on the Jamboard. Okay. So with this particular strategy on this first example here, I'll kind of explain and then we'll do a couple together here. Students are making connections between 2 ideas, and those connections obviously then are relationships, and they can be similarities, they could be differences. And so on this first one here, we have 4 different characters from different books that we've read. We have Wilbur, we have Jiminy Cricket, obviously down here we have Horton, and then we've got Stuart Little over here. So again, as indicated with your arrows, what you will be doing or asking your students to do is to make connections between these 2 characters or these 2 ideas, okay? The way that they'll do that is they're going to use over here this little toolbar that they have pictured. You're going to use your sticky note, and so when you click on that, a sticky note will pop up. You can change your colors there. But what you will do then is to ask them, okay, think critically, you know, think carefully about how could these 2 characters be the same, or how could these 2 characters be different? And so, for example, one here that I could say is Wilbur gets advice, because obviously it's Charlotte, you know, kind of usually walking him through what he should do or how to be better throughout the story. Whereas over here we have Jiminy Cricket, who is more giving the advice to Pinocchio. And so I'm going to type that in. I'm going to hit save, and then you'll see the little sticky pop up. And then you can hit cancel here. And then I will just simply drag this as to where it's belonging. Okay. Same thing, any 2 characters here. If you have a difference, then you would go ahead and add that there. So I'm going to go ahead and switch to the next frame. So if all of you can move to the second frame along with me. And now I'm going to turn it over to you to start putting in your own sticky notes. So we have 4 different figures here. And same thing, I would like for you to make some connections between these figures. So again, it could be a similarity, it could be a difference. So go ahead and start adding a few sticky notes in there, and let's see what ideas we get shared. Awesome, I see your ideas coming in. So once your sticky note populates in there, they all kind of by default go to the corner there. So then you'll just kind of have to grab it and move it accordingly. And yes, 3D shapes, we could really put that anywhere, couldn't we? Because all of them are three-dimensional figures or 3D shapes. Vertices, okay, and that could go a couple of different places. We have some with vertices and some without. And so you would drag that way. Then as a student, you're indicating to your teacher which two shapes you're recognizing as they do or they do not have vertices. Flat surfaces, great. I'll give you about maybe 15 more seconds to see if you can get any other ideas added on that one. Okay. All right, very good. So that was a math example. Let's go ahead and at the top shift to the next frame. And either you can do the over arrow, or if you do the expand the frame bar, you can also see here. So again, as a teacher, you could be able to see exactly where each of your students are. So I already see a few GT kids over here on the third slide. And you can just click that, and then that'll go ahead and take you exactly to that one. So if you jump over to the third frame, and I don't know why mine is showing blank. Other than with the information, where did it go? Okay. Okay, no worries. So you did get a little bit of practice there. And as you can see, those of you that are clicking the plus, that just adds additional frames. And then as frames are added, that's where you'll plug in the information as you need. And so you can put in there as many different slides as you would like to. Yes, Ms. Gill.
I was going to ask that, I know I've been to a training a long time ago, like last summer about Jamboard, but I already forgot. I haven't used it in my class. And I was wondering if the kids actually are able to delete things off of your Jamboard presentation. Like if others are able to delete what you originally created for the.
They are, especially for example, there, like if you are inserting just the sticky notes, rather than putting it as a background, they would be able to. Technically speaking, even the background, they would have the ability to go in there and edit the background. The good thing is there is the undo button as with everything else. And so, you know, those are kind of things that you would work out as you go. Obviously, you would make the decision as to when are you taking more the collaborative approach that obviously you want your students working together within the same Jamboard. And at other times, where is it that you want to make a copy of every single Jamboard or of the Jamboard rather for every single student. So it's a little bit of playing and figuring out what works best for your students. Obviously, as with all of this, first and foremost, it's going to be a matter of modeling for your students, letting them know, you know, if you were to click here, this is going to happen or that's not going to happen. But I guess just rest a little bit peace of mind of knowing that you do have that ability to go back and get what you need. And that's why too, even for myself for today's presentation and things, I have my original saved. And then I made a copy for my morning session. I made a copy for my afternoon session. And then I have a copy that I'm going to share with all of you all that you'll make a copy of yourself so that you can have for your records. And so that's just, you know, the, I guess, practice that we have with everything right this year, the copy. So no matter how many times you do that, just to feel at peace that everything's going to still be there as you need. Okay, good question. All right, so that was a little bit then of connect the dots. If there are no more questions, then I'm going to go ahead and shift over to the compare and contrast model. All right. This one here, you're going to very quickly see that the compare and contrast model is going to make you think probably about a Venn diagram, and that's really what it is here. And same thing, I'm going to go ahead and get this link shared into the chat. This one's going to operate a little bit differently. So you could go ahead and open the link, but just wait as to where you need to go with the information because it will be a little bit different this time. So on this first slide, just a matter of understanding how the compare and contrast model works. What you would do is you would insert a word or image on each side here. And then what your students would be doing is determining, obviously, the differences between each of these. And so they would list the differences for this one on the left. They would list the differences for this one on the right. And then anything that overlaps between the two would go right down the middle, just like what you traditionally see on a Venn diagram. Here you can see that we have 3 sticky notes for each particular image or word. That doesn't have to be the case. Same thing here, as I mentioned previously on one of the other strategies, is you can already pre-build this for your students, or depending upon the age, you could leave it a little bit more at the discretion of your students. And so you could give them the 2 words and then ask them to brainstorm on their own what are differences or what are similarities. Additionally, what you can do is give them a word bank over here on the top right corner that you see there. So as well, what you could think about is that may be a way to differentiate too for your students. And so maybe some of your students, it's going to be a little bit more open for their interpretation or for their critical thinking. For others, you're going to scaffold for them and maybe provide them a little bit more guidance here. And so just know that what you see here isn't necessarily the finalized product of what it has to look like when you first start, okay? So taking a look at an example here, I'm going to switch to slide 2. Here we see a science example of reflection and refraction. So those are the 2 ideas. Same thing, I still went ahead and left the sticky notes, but what I've done here, it's kind of like a word bank, but at the same time, it's also giving a little bit of visual support. Is the students would be able to then drag these particular objects or images to where they think they need to go. So when they consider a shiny screen, is that reflection? Is it refraction? Or is it the same? Well, shiny is going to reflect, okay? The telescope here. A telescope has, depending upon the type of telescope it is, it has lenses which would refract. However, if it is a telescope with mirrors inside, then it would be reflecting. So this is actually one that could go right here in the middle, that it does both, okay? Excuse me. All right, so those are just a couple of examples there of how this works. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to break you into groups. I'm going to use the breakout rooms just so that you can see here. Group number 1 in just a moment. When I put you in your breakout rooms, if you are in breakout room number 1, then you will be group 1 working on this particular compare and contrast model. If you are in breakout room number 2, then you will be group 2 and you will be working on this compare and contrast model. And of course, if you are in breakout room number 3, then you are group 3 working on this compare and contrast model, okay? So we have about 14 of you, so there will be 4 to 5 of you in each group. I will allow you to be resourceful if you need, especially like when you get to the plant cell and animal cells. I know some of us, it's been quite some time since we've done some of those things. So no worries if you need to kind of seek out some support there, okay? Any questions before I put you in your breakout rooms? So again, your breakout room number will be the group number that you go to. And so just cycle through your slides there. Okay, and you'll have a couple of minutes in your breakout rooms and then I'll bring you all back over here. So go ahead and start working together with your team, and you should already have the Jamboard open. Okay, all right, here we go.
Holly, I'm so sorry. I'm having issues with my laptop and it just keeps kicking me out and buffering and I don't know what's going on. So I apologize.
It's okay. I see you back in. I'll assign you to a room.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. No problem.
I came next door to try and listen to most of it either way. So thank you. Yeah, but we'll see what happens.
Which,
Yeah.
we're already out of the breakout room.
Oh,
Really?
now we're all into
Okay,
it.
But yes, I said that you
we're
can be
being resourceful because we're following your advice.
No, Miss
I only
Sambach
need
taught
like
me that.
one vocabulary word.
You all are good. No, you did a great job. I was
Oh my
cycling
God.
through and kind of popping in the room. So you all did a great job. You went about it different ways and there's no really right way or wrong way to that. So technically, I know while it looks like a template that you could be using those sticky notes that were already in there that said similarities or rather the word same and the word difference. You could have technically clicked on those and typed in there. Some of you were simply then adding sticky notes and just placing them over those as well. So whichever way you chose to go about it, really, as I mentioned, there was no wrong way or right way. So
This is my first time using Jamboard.
Yes, me
So I
too.
was trying
don't worry.
to figure out where to
Yeah.
write or where to get the sticky notes.
Yes,
It's like,
no.
but I attempted, to do it. So
That's all
Yes,
we can do.
yes.
And it does take a little bit of practice. I know even myself, like I had used it
Yeah.
in attending the lead forward session. And I thought like I kind of knew everything, but even just in putting the presentation together for you all, I've still continued to learn as well. So don't feel that you've got to have all this mastered because even when you think you do, you really don't. And so your kids will teach you some more too along the way, but that's just how it goes with everything. Okay, so we're getting close on time here. Let me go ahead and get finished up with these last two strategies. So the next one that I'm going to go ahead and present to you now is called 7 Little Words. So let me switch and share my screen on that one. And same thing here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the link in the chat. And so just know that you'll be accessing the latest link in the chat. I know there's different ones in there. This one, you're going to be working on your own on this one, okay? So the last one we had you working together in groups, so that was kind of the you do together. And so now what I'm having you do, okay, so go ahead and click on that one. The last link I just placed in the chat. That one you are working together, it's the you do alone, okay? But I will briefly explain to you this particular strategy, obviously, so that you know what it is that you need to do on your own, okay? This is called 7 Little Words. Again, I know some of you would have to get creative with this. It might be 7 little pictures, for example, for those of you with younger students. Maybe you could put a word in the middle and then they would draw 7 pictures, or maybe a letter in the middle, and same thing, 7 pictures that go along with that. Also keep in mind the strategies that I'm showing you today. Yes, I'm using Jamboard. You could do these same strategies using Google Slides, and so it is flexible in that nature as well. This one is called 7 Little Words. I'm going to go ahead and use this first slide, and then I will assign out to each of you your slide number in just a bit. But what you do here is basically use 7 little sticky notes, and you're just going to put a word on each sticky note. And so as I read here, if I see, for example, that this reading is about winter, then that will be one word that stands out to me. So it's a way of kind of ensuring that the students are grasping the big ideas, the important concepts. And so sometimes they feel overwhelmed when you ask them to write, long sentences or to summarize their learning. But essentially, this would be a quick way to summarize their learning, but they're just doing it in short chunks. So one word is there, and then they would just add another sticky note. If they want to change the color, they could do so. And then again, another word in here that they happen to see. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead right now and break you into breakout rooms again, but your breakout room will be an individual breakout room this time. So you see that we have fewer of you all left. So there will be 14 breakout rooms. Just go ahead and same thing, go to the slide number that corresponds with your breakout room. So if you're in breakout room 1 by yourself, then go to slide number 1. And actually I've already obviously put a sticky note or 2 there. You can feel free to delete those. So just go ahead and take a moment or 2 to practice doing the 7 little words strategy, okay? All right, here we go. Okay, so let's go ahead. Thank you again for breaking out and coming back in. I am putting right now in the chat our last strategy. And so if you can go ahead and click on that one, that is called the Mind Bender. Okay. This one is basically kind of our closing for today. So let me go ahead and start sharing screen and then see everyone's ideas that are being added in there. Again, the same technique and strategy could be used with your students. It's kind of seeing, how has their learning changed as a result of the instruction. And so as you can see here, what I would like for each of you to do is go ahead and click over here and grab a sticky note in blue. And on your blue sticky note, tell me something that you used to think or that you were clueless about as you came into today's session. So was there something about Lead Forward, or was there something about Jamboard that you used to think or you were clueless about, or even just about critical thinking? And now, as a result of today's learning, what do you know now? And go ahead and add that using a pink sticky note. And so we'll go ahead and see a few of the ideas. And yes, if you want to make a copy of the sticky note that's there and then go ahead and add your particular idea, feel free to do so. If you just want to add the sticky note from the toolbar, that is fine as well. So very briefly, just go ahead and once again, tell me, what did you used to think, or what were you clueless about? And what do you know now after today's session? Okay. So I see someone was clueless about how to use Jamboard in the classroom. Okay, and what are some things that we know now? Okay, so using that Jamboard or the Google link, students can work together, absolutely. You know how to use the sticky notes, awesome. Okay, I like that one about the kindergarten class. I know I had to think about that too carefully. But absolutely all of these things with your creative minds, you can adapt it to meet your needs and the needs of your students. And maybe one or two more ideas about things that you know now. Okay, awesome. Yes, we can do this work whole group. We can do it in partners or small groups, and in the end, independently as well. Thank you all so much. Okay.
You're muted, Holly.
Thank you. So that famous phrase still continues here in 2021. I'm placing right now in the chat the link with all of the information that I had mentioned at the beginning would be shared with you. So here on this agenda sheet, those of you that maybe just would like to get a little bit more information or feel comfortable with Lead Forward strategies, that link is going to take you directly there. As well, if you want to learn a little bit more about how to create these Jamboards, I've provided you that information at the top as well that you can find directly on our website. And then at the bottom, you will see those 5 strategies that we've covered today. And all of those will be forced copies. So just know that everything that you're doing, so just like that Google Doc right now, it's going to tell you you need to make a copy. Remember, your copies will go to your Google Drive. And then additionally, those 5 strategies at the bottom, it will be 5 different Jamboards that you are making a copy of that are now yours in your Google Drive. And so feel free to make any edits, any changes that you need to that. Obviously, I am here as well with anything else that you need. So don't hesitate to reach out to me. Let me know how I can be of assistance to all of you all. Okay. Are there any questions as we go ahead and finish up for today?
No, thank you. I think this would be a great for like, what do you call it? For like t-tests and other things like to use for observations and all of that.
Most definitely.
Mhm.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for
Thank you all.
creating
I
everything
appreciate
that
you all for coming.
did for us.
Yes,
You're
thank
welcome.
you.
Yeah, thank you.
You're
Thank you very
welcome.
much.
Okay, you all have a good day then. And like I said, give me a call, send me an email if you need anything else, okay? Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Awesome.